I think that whoever wins the general election in July should really focus on spending more money on both the National Health Service and also the judicial system, because they've both been massively underfunded for such a long time, and I think it's important that we get them back up and running.
After the election, I think whoever gets in, they should really focus on the housing crisis especially. I think it's so hard for young people at the moment to get onto the housing ladder because obviously the prices have gone up compared to when our parents were buying houses. So I think that's something they should definitely look into.
Well, I think that would be one area I'd like to see improved, as both my parents work in the NHS, and I think after seeing how important they were and needed in the pandemic, that it'd be an area that they could do with some more support.
I'd like to work in the medical profession, and I'd like to think that I'd be supported if I choose to do so, so also some improvement there.
Well, I think from recently we should be focusing on the water pollution, particularly in our local rivers and seas.
Really looking forward to voting for the first time. Currently very undecided on the immigration, obviously quite a topical subject and quite big in most countries. That's the reason why the far right is so powerful in France and Germany at the moment. They've pushed Macron to have to put a new vote out because Marine Le Pen has got so many votes. But I think it's really been taken the wrong way. I think there's quite a lot of benefits. Expand the labour force, you get more tax revenue from more people working in the country.
I think we should tax people, but I think it should be as low as possible.
So obviously, like everyone, the NHS and the economy are the most important things for everyone in the UK because that affects everyone. And in the last few years, they have plummeted. So I really want to see the policy on focus on diagnosis rather than treatment, diagnosing people early because the cost of treatment is so expensive, and hopefully that should bring down the cost of the NHS. In the economy, I understand that until the government gets in, they don't know exactly how they can fix the economy. And I didn't do economics, I did politics, so I don't know that much about economics. But I'm also really care about the end to all the culture wars in politics at the moment, because I think they always damage. Creating hate is never going to create a solution. And I think that leaving the ECHR is not a benefit at all. So for any party that I vote for, they would have to support being in the ECHR, because I cannot understand how leaving something that protects our human rights could ever be a good thing. I really hope that whatever party gets in, they're faithful to their manifesto and their policies, because it's easy for people to lose trust in politics if no party ever sticks to their claims.
In Debate Club, we have talked about the general election, and we've talked about how Rishi Sunak would plan things and when would be the best times to actually make the general election happen. Because back in the time when we did the general election, we didn't know when it was going to be. Most of us were thinking it would be later in the year, sometime like October, September. I think the upkeep of Britain is important, because without it, we'll all just go into a complete state of chaos. And so if we keep everyone in order with laws and such, maybe enforce some new laws, that would be nice, then it will all go smoothly.
I would say I'm very interested in politics. I think many people should be, even at my age, be interested in politics, because it is what is going to happen next in this country. They are incredibly important. They decide who's making the policies in the House of Parliament, but also your local elections are very important. There were some earlier this year. I think at the moment it's just economic issues. We're in a cost of living crisis. We're in a housing crisis. This needs to be tackled.
If it's something concerning schools, then it will impact us. I think maybe the environment and managing maybe the economy a bit more, so stopping inflation and stuff.
So last year I started my love for politics from just some conversations I had at home and in school. I think general elections are one of the most important things in the UK, because at the end of the day, the king, although he's a massive role, he doesn't choose what laws we have or how our country runs. So it really depends on what government we have in power and how that determines our day-to-day life. making sure the junior doctors and NHS get the pay rise that's fair on them, but also fair on the country.
So the few policies that are really interesting to me are the environment and particularly equality. Both of them massively impact our future. I mean, if we don't look after our environment, then we're going to live in a wasted land, basically. And if we don't look after our equality, then people will inevitably feel, you know, unfairly dismissed or, you know, inferior. And I think whether that be race, gender, religion, sexuality, anything, I think it's really important to be inclusive. And of course, for a government, that's difficult to make it a policy because it's often something in people's minds. But I think it should really be focused on putting a stop to any sort of discrimination, because when you start to change how people think, that's when actions really start to come to fruition.